Good evening. Rafael Nadal showed yet again why he is the greatest player in French Open history. Let me begin with this list of records Rafael Nadal holds at French Open. Most French Open titles, most French Open finals contested, most consecutive French Open titles, biggest French Open match win streak, most amount of wins at French Open, and also won at least one French Open title across 3 decades. But what this list does not tell you is that he's 35 years old, will be 36 on Friday, till last year wanted to retire due to a foot injury, hasn't had a very good build-up to this tournament and was playing against another great who came into this match without having dropped a single set, but it didn't matter. What a night we saw. Rafael Nadal beating Novak Djokovic in 4 sets. I'm joined here to look back on that fantastic match with Gaurav Natikar and Vishal Uppal, former Davis Cuppers for India. Thank you so much, gentlemen. What a match we saw. And I think at the beginning of that, if anyone said that, it was going to be this kind of a match where Rafael Nadal would dominate in such a manner, we wouldn't have agreed, especially given that he's had a slow build-up really in this season. Gaurav?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, every time you write guys like Rafael Nadal off, they just come back ever so strongly. And every match of Nadal and Djokovic never ever goes according to script. Yeah. I mean, we all knew it would be a long match. The fact that it finished at almost 5 a.m. India time, but I know that a lot of people were watching it. But just the way Nadal came out and dominated Djokovic for that first set and a half, and then the way Djokovic actually just hung in there, fought back, and then once he won the second set, I really thought that he's going to use his momentum and actually go and win the match. And then hey, and presto, Nadal comes back and starts getting into his own rhythm, and just the way he fought back in the fourth set, he was down a set point. Doesn't show any sign of his injury. I really don't know how he's able to recover so quickly after matches like the one he played in the 4th round. Just incredible. I mean, the stats that you mentioned, Meha, really don't talk. The stats are one thing, but just to see what he's mentally, where he's at, and what he's done for the sport is absolutely incredible.
And where he's coming from as well. Till last year, he wanted to retire. Vishal, we spoke about this before the Australian Open. And in fact, after he won the Australian Open title, just the will and having the skill, of course, to do it, but to do it in such a manner against a great like Novak Djokovic. And as Gaurav was saying, even in that match, we saw a lot of twists and turns. Nadal takes the first set, emphatic one, 6-2, and you were like, okay, seems like this is going to go, one way. Then, as we've seen so often with Novak Djokovic, he comes back, and that is after Nadal was leading 3-love, goes on to win the second set, Djokovic, and then you're like, oh my gosh, I think that
he's getting old now, he's not going to make it back. It's going to be a big struggle for him. He just comes back and tells you guys, shut up, I've got this. I'm the king of, I'm the king of clay. I'm the king of, Roland Garros. And it's incredible to see what this guy has been doing year after year after year. I mean, I think that there should be a case study on Rafael Nadal as to how can he recover so quickly from all these injuries he has, all these long matches he plays. It'll be an incredible, case study just to understand, what it takes for this guy to recover and get ready for these matches. I mean, what a fantastic match yesterday. Every time you thought the match was slipping away from him a little bit, he just fought back. And in the end, I have to say, I thought Djokovic at the start of the match was a little subdued.
Yeah.
I didn't think he came out with that energy that he needed to really get on top of Rafael Nadal. If you see their history also as matches, the person who's won the first set has invariably won their matches. So I thought that first set was very crucial. And I thought the start of the match, Djokovic was not fired up enough to, try and put the, put the pressure on Nadal, considering Nadal had played a long match against the young Canadian boy and Djokovic was, fresh as a daisy. I thought that's where, Djokovic kind of missed a trick where I don't think mentally he came out firing like he needed to.
Okay, we'll also look at some of the numbers. What has Nadal done over the years? And I'm surprised that we could fit it in a graphic which will fit on the screen, because what he's done for the sport is incredible, which will not fit on any television screens. But look at that, 21 major titles, the only one. So that's again a record that he's created. This after they were level on 20, all three, the big three. Nadal, 21 major titles, 13 French Open titles, greatest player on clay, US Open, 4 of them, Australian Open. He had to wait for a long time to win his second Australian Open, but he did that this year. And then there is Wimbledon, 2 of those titles. So there you have it. That's a heavy bag, 61 titles on clay, 81 consecutive wins on clay. And like Gaurav was saying, I think when you look at his records, these are incredible. But what you don't see is that here's a man, 35 years old, struggling with injury, has played 8.5 hours of tennis, of intense tennis in 3 days to come good over world number 1, Novak Djokovic. And as Vishal was saying, this is more about will than skill, and rightly so. But I've got to talk a little bit about Novak Djokovic as well, Gaurav. Vishal's saying there that he didn't really get off to the start that he would have wanted, wasn't fired up enough. There are now many suggesting that maybe he hasn't really had that kind of intense match play in the build-up to this tournament. In fact, I was seeing this, that since September, US Open, he hasn't had to play more than 3 setters in any of the tournaments. I mean, do you feel like maybe he was a little undercooked?
I don't think so. I agree with Vishal that that he didn't come on come out firing all cylinders. I also think that, look, Nadal has himself said in the last match that he felt a little pressure towards the end of that match against Van de Zandschulp. Now, when a Rafael Nadal, who's won 21 slams at the French Open, says he still feels the pressure, we all know that the pressure is real. And I think Djokovic also at some level is feeling the pressure because, look, he's not had an easy 6 months. He couldn't play the Australian Open. His form has been good. He has won a cup, he won a big tournament a couple of weeks back on the clay. I think that what is probably going through his mind is the fact that this whole me against the world, And Goran Ivanisevic said it very well. He said, look, I'm happy that 80% of the crowd is actually going to be against Djokovic because he loves that. He again got into some kind of, and honestly, digressing a bit, I think the French crowd has been a little boorish. I mean, to come out and boo someone like Djokovic, I think, is not in good taste. But I feel that Djokovic is dealing with his own demons in terms of, can I actually now win number 21? Definitely, he is feeling a bit of the pressure. And I think that Roland Garros, even though he is the defending champion, he's never been comfortable there. And when you play somebody like a Rafael Nadal, you know that he's going to come on, giving 300%. So did he come out maybe a little nervous and maybe not at his best? Yes. Was he undercooked? Most definitely not.
Okay. Then also talking about how, Vishal, people were suggesting that maybe this could be an advantage Novak Djokovic, given that this was being played under colder conditions. The bounce that Rafael Nadal relies on would not be there. None of that really mattered last night.
Yes, it didn't matter. A lot of the pundits were saying that Djokovic will be the favorite given the conditions and stuff like that. But I mean, on a lighter note, I think they should just name this tournament the Spanish Open and stop calling it the French Open anymore, because if you saw the crowd, I mean, Nadal really fed off their energy. And who better at handling clay than Rafael Nadal? He's the master of this surface. So, no matter who said what, whether Djokovic, the conditions will favor him, he's not played as long, he's fresher, all of that goes out of the window. You're playing Rafael Nadal at the French Open, Philippe-Chatrier. That's his home. He owns it. So I think, all this is great talk before the match, but when it gets down to matches, these guys are warriors. I mean, Rafael Nadal is as ferocious as someone can be on a particular surface. I mean, I think we used to, Gaurav will know that growing up, we used to look at Pete Sampras dominating Wimbledon the way he dominated
Yes, of course.
Rafael Nadal has dominated clay to unmeasurable levels. I mean, how do how do you play this guy on clay? Let's try and do some sort of research thesis on that. So because this guy, against all odds, whether it is injury, whether it is cold conditions, whether it is the court is not as fast or as high bouncing, I mean, he's the most dangerous guy on clay. So he has to be the favorite going into every and any match he plays on clay till the day he retires.
Okay, so is he now the favorite? By the way, I had my first poster I had in my room was a Pete Sampras. I still remember growing up. That's how crazy we were. I think all of us were about Pete Sampras. He was...
I think Meha, I just want to say one point.
Yes.
Vishal mentioned that, Sampras was the king of clay and stuff. Listen, we grew up watching Bjorn Borg. Bjorn Borg has 11 Grand Slams. Sampras, I think, has 16, 17. I don't even remember.
14.
This guy, Nadal, 14.
Yeah.
Nadal has 21.
Yeah.
And he's two matches away from 22.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, so when you talk of the greatest of all time, in my opinion, I'm a big Federer fan as well.
Yeah.
There is absolutely no question in my mind as to who is the greatest of all time now. So when you talk of a Sampras and, the kind of impact he had on the game, a Boris Becker, Bjorn Borg, all these guys in the 80s and 90s, and then you have someone like a Rafa who's won 21 slams and, with Federer, Andy Murray, Wawrinka, Djokovic, I think that all those stats that you place, and listen, he's won 2 Olympic gold medals. I mean, we almost tend to forget that, right? Just the kind of longevity that he's had. I know, I kind of interrupted you, but I just want to make that point that we don't realize how big 21 Grand Slams going on to 22 is. And certainly he's 2 matches away. I mean, certainly now that Alcaraz is also out, he's definitely going to be the favorite.
I think we've also been lucky and fortunate enough to see them play in front of us, no, Gaurav? They've spoilt us. All 3 of them, they've spoilt us. I remember how happy I was when Michael Chang won the French Open at 17. I think we all remember that moment. And you're right about this. When you look at pure numbers, longevity, I just said that one of the stats has been that he has won in every decade in the last 3 decades. That's 30 years. I mean, we're talking about an absolutely exceptional champion. Yes, Vishal, you wanted to add to that.
I'm saying, so while Gaurav was talking, this came to my mind that if Nadal wins this year's French Open, he would have had 14 Grand Slams on French Open. That's total of Sampras across every surface.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's a scary thought.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But that's how incredible they've been. I mean, even for that matter, Djokovic, I know that we were having this conversation on our sports desk about who is the best. And of course, when you talk, and rather favorite, I think the conversation was around who's your favorite out of the big 3. And of course, you knew who would get the least number of points there. We all know that. Djokovic has struggled with that as well. Somehow he seems like a more fallible human being than the other 2 who just can't seem to do anything wrong on and off the court. Of course, Djokovic comes across as someone that, can make mistakes, that has made mistakes in the past. He's also been a polarizing figure. But these 2, they just can't seem to do anything wrong. So I guess we all have that one favorite. And I think in that, poor Djokovic gets the least number of points. Having said that, gentlemen, now, what are the chances from here on? He's beat the world number 1. He's beaten the world number 1. He's looking very good. But he comes across, now he plays the semi-final against Sasha Zverev. Gaurav, let's begin with you.
Clearly, he has to be the favorite, right? He's going for his 14th French Open title. Zverev hasn't, Zverev, I think, has got to 1 Grand Slam final. He doesn't really play that well under pressure. His second serve is suspect at best, and we saw that even against Alcaraz.
Yes.
I think that this is Nadal's Roland Garros to lose. I think that hopefully he would have recovered well, and just the way he's able to raise his game and go on to a different gear. I don't think Zverev even knows the different kind of gears that Nadal can bring to a match. And obviously the other end of the draw. Look, these guys are all good players, right? I mean, it's great to see that we're going to have Rune versus Rune coming later tonight. So it's great for tennis to have these youngsters. But but clearly it seems like as if there is one generation that is, you have the Nadals and the Federers and the Djokovic's, and then you have, the 19-year-olds like your Felixes and your Runes and stuff. And I think Zverev made us realize that, listen, guys, the 25, 28-year-olds are also somewhere in the mix. But I just feel that that Nadal is clearly the favorite now. If it was the US Open or Wimbledon, I would have still said, but this is French Open, this is Roland Garros.
This is where he belongs. This is where he has a big life, rather bigger than himself, a huge statue of himself outside, and he is the king of clay. Quickly, Gaurav, what are your thoughts on the semi-final? Gaurav saying there that he has the advantage. Vishal, do you agree?
Oh yeah, of course. Rafael Nadal has to be the favorite going into this match. Having said that, I think Zverev has all the weapons to hurt Nadal and try and beat him. But I think there's a big question mark on Zverev's mental ability. Whether can he deal with the pressure? Can he deal with the pressure of playing Nadal against a boisterous crowd? We all know that the crowd will be for Nadal. So I think Nadal definitely has the edge going into this match. And I think for me, Nadal is still the favorite.
Okay, completely going over, gentlemen. Thank you so much, Gaurav Natakar and Vishal Appal. Something interesting that Rafael Nadal said at the end of that match, when at the post-match presentation, he said, he was asked about the crowd at Philippe-Chatrier, and he said they were all cheering for him throughout the evening. And he said, it's because they know I'm not going to be playing here a lot more times. And that's the modesty that we see from a champion like him, where he's not saying that they actually support him. He just feels like they probably feel like he doesn't have too many chances left, too many years left. I'll leave it on that note, gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us. And here's wishing and hoping that Rafael Nadal goes on to create history by winning 22nd slam, by winning the French Open. We'll be here back with the latest from the French Open. So do join us then. For now, goodbye. Thanks for watching.